Morning. Good morning, Patriots. Good morning, fellow travelers. It's so good to see all of you. I truly believe that not all moments are created equal, and this moment is magical, as the president said. This is a magical place. These are magical people. And for me, it's a little bit magical because I didn't think I was coming yesterday, and Heather made that magic happen. I'm here for 11 hours. It's a poof. It's a magical poof. But it's because what you do matters so much to all of us. So thank you for being here, and thank you for what you do. Speaking of magic, how many people flew to be here? How many people drove? Okay. Who's more comfortable driving? Like just in general, who's more comfortable driving than flying? Okay, so more hands, right? But we fly anyway because the situation calls for it, right? I'm more comfortable driving than flying, but the situation calls for it, and then we adjust accordingly. This is called a beta region paradox. This is to say that there are times where there's something that we're comfortable with, and then it doesn't make any sense anymore, but then we keep doing it. And so if we are supposed to walk down to the grocery store and it's a half a block away, we walk, and that grocery store doesn't have what we're looking for, and the next one's a mile away, and maybe we say, oh hell, I'm already walking, and we get there, but it would have been faster to drive. Right? That cognitive bias of switching vehicles or switching approaches, that's a really hard barrier to overcome. It drives a lot of how we do business, and I would say in this time, it calls into question a lot of the tools and frameworks and approaches that we're using right now. And so for this reason, we've been looking a lot more analytically, thoughtfully, and learning through action on how to approach some of the challenges differently than we have before. The return on investment of flying just made sense. And so that was obvious probably the moment we got on the plane. It's certainly obvious afterwards. And so we've been meticulous with both data and range of experiments to make that case to the larger community. Let's talk about technology. Who feels like technology is moving faster than it has in their lifetime? Who doesn't? All right. Who feels rushed by that? Like who gets a kind of an emotional, whether it's like a little bit of discomfort or anxiety? Does anyone get a palpable reaction to the speed of technology? Fewer hands because we're clutching, right? All right. So Moore's law, people have heard of Moore's law for the speed of chip development and advancement. So AI is moving in 6-month chunks instead of 18-month chunks. So it's at least 3 times faster than Moore's law, right? So that feeling, that discomfort or that change, it's warranted. 3 times faster is almost nonlinear. So we're talking power laws faster. And so how do you adjust? Most systems aren't built for something to go 3 times faster. If I'm late, or if I was trying to drive here from Washington, D.C. yesterday, I would feel uncomfortable, and I could try to drive 3 times faster. It wouldn't go well, but it still wouldn't be enough, right? And so what approach we take, both mindset and team-wise, but then also frameworks, which are, for us, the Archimedes lever that allows us to jump forward, are something I wanted to share with you. First, a little bit more background. In Ukraine right now, and for the last year, do people know the OODA loop? All right, someone shout out what the OODA loop stands for? Perfect. All right. So the OODA loop is speed of decision making. In Ukraine, the speed of decision making after a new approach or tactic is applied, it is countered in less than 2 weeks through software, right? So OODA loop, there are past wars where we had one paradigm and it lasted the full conflict. We're talking about in 2-week periods. Does anyone here get software delivered in less than 2-week chunks? I don't see any hands. It's a little bit bright up here. It's a different paradigm, and necessity is the parent of innovation. But this is a pronounced shift. It's no longer academic. It's no longer someone looking at the scenario. This is real, and we've proven it in the Red Sea. We've proven it in Ukraine. We've proven it other places. Adaptability is winning. That's what Darwin told us. It's not the strongest, it's the most adaptive. That's why humans have been around so long, and that's one of the things that makes this country so great, a decentralized, adaptive nature. And so a little bit more data, and then we'll get to the meat. Do people know the Valley of Death? All right, so from a technology perspective, someone want to yell it out? So this is the idea of there is a technology that is invented or created, and then whether or not it makes it to market and whether or not it scales, there's a lull, right? So there we have something potentially great, not everything makes it out the door. And so we call that space in between the Valley of Death. That Valley of Death used to be created by public funding, and then whether commercialization or the government would pick it up would dictate how long that valley is and how deep that valley is. That's changed. And so the public sector is spending less on R&D than the private sector now. Anyone want to guess the ratio, how much more the private sector is spending on R&D than the public sector? 3.5 to 1. You guys were really close, right? So it's 3.5 to 1 external versus internal. What does that mean for us? It's not gone, right? It's not 3.5 to 0, it's 3.5 to 1, but what does that mean to us? It means that there's a lot more innovation happening in commercial, right? And so within the Department of Navy, within a couple of the commands that I've worked in DoD, we mostly have builder mindsets. And so specifically carpenter mindsets. If we have a problem, then we go to the garage or the workshop or the wood shop and we build a solution to that. And that is not keeping up with speed. And so from a mindset perspective, where we can adopt, there may be some integration on the back end, but where we can be gardeners instead of carpenters, we need to look at how to do that. And so that switch, that's easy to talk about. It's pretty different to do because there's the first leap, but then sprint 0, sprint 1, we're never good at something until we do it a lot. And so embracing it it's a necessary step, but how we get enough reps to be better at the new thing than the old thing is both art and science. And so we've been at this for a while. I've had teams doing this in different spots for about 10 years. And we've learned a lot of lessons, and some were hard lessons. We've all had our own hard lessons, but I wanted to share some of those with you in case it resonates. The point again at the beginning was I do think this right now is a magic moment. And then the best definition I've ever heard for the theory of relativity by Einstein is that literally not all time is created equal, right? So if we're in an exponential age and some moments may matter more than others, then our reaction to them or what we do about it matters more than others. And so the president just mentioned, like, we are empowered. Most of us are not in the same place, the geographical place. That's awesome. But we're together right now. We will go back. People will stay in touch. I think you have an alumni infrastructure for that. We also have LinkedIn. Connect with each other, connect with me. Staying in touch is the utmost important. To me, there are 3 things. There are table stakes, like technology is going to speed up, but there are 3 things that help navigate times like this. One is connection is more important than usual. Two is there's a sneaking suspicion that this is a season of divestment. And so we should get better and better about turning things off. And just like change in our lives, you either change or something changes you. And so that applied to divestment, we either turn something off or tell people what should be turned off, or it happens to us. And so you never want to be in the latter camp. I keep a kill list, a divestment list for all of my PEOs and program offices and portfolios. And I think it's just a good, so the season of divestment, we'll talk about that. And then the last one is at the heart of them, there's a lot of nuance, but at the heart of them, more problems are common than they are different. And so I will talk now about a few of the problems that we've had, and you can see if they resonate. We can talk about how we flipped the script, changed how we were thinking about that. That we have documentation on these, but what's more important than whether you apply them or not is exposing you to this type of thinking, see if you've seen it before, see how it might fit with you, okay? All right, I do have a clicker. All right, so the Atlantic Council put out a report a couple years ago, a couple secretaries of services and the defense made the comment, and I think we've read it before, but it said, America is awesome at innovation. Where we struggle is innovation adoption. So good at the innovation part, whether that's private sector or public sector. It is a focus of NPS. The adoption part, are we making the very best decision? Are we flying every time that it makes sense to fly, or sometimes are we driving? And so we say, we don't send warfighters into theater without kitting them up. That's cool. So let's not send innovation adopters into the government without kitting them up. And so how do we allow us all to be more gardeners and adopters instead of builders first? Okay, so this familiar valley of death, and then these are our key enablers. I promise not to go through all of them, but we have this online and it's available to you afterwards in case there's anything that you want to get into a little bit more detail. This is specifically for enterprise information technology, but it applies other places, and we have a more general version. Who here works in digital tech? Who here doesn't touch digital tech on a regular basis? I'd argue that at some level we all work in digital tech, so I will ask again. Who here works in digital tech at some level? All right, very good. So this is the organization this is for, world-class experience at the speed of mission. That's the vision. Who does that resonate with? Who has a vision that is in some way connected to digital experience and speed of mission? All right, there were not enough hands, so I'm going to ask now. Give me a couple other visions and missions of your organizations. So I want to make sure that we tailor this for you. Sir. Shout it out. The vision or mission of your organization. Yeah?
Verbatim?
No. If you can, we'll hold you to it.
I don't have it verbatim, but I can say that the vision is to provide support and services to our communities and to the sub-recipients of our state that we support, and our mission is to do that in an effective and equitable manner.
Perfect. How many people have a mission that is connected or related to that? All right. Got a lot of hands. Anyone have a very different mission? Cold calling is on the table. This is what we do in grad school.
Reducing crime.
Perfect. All right, reducing crime. Resonates? How do you reduce crime? What are some of the methods, tools?
Innovation.
There's some technology involved in that, and then there's some what we call .mlpf or other approaches, right? Anyone else have one that they want to volunteer? Please.
Yeah, helping enabling teams to reach their potential.
Awesome. So, team enablement. All of this, I think I have cognitive bias, but all of this to me sounds very related to, at some level, human-machine teaming to solve a problem, deliver a service, improve something. Raise your hand if that doesn't apply to what you're working on. I want to hear. This is great. I get to learn.
Trauma and grief support.
Was it?
Trauma and grief support.
Trauma and grief support. Okay, beautiful. So human on human. There's some coordination. There's probably some scheduling or things like, okay, perfect. For all of us, at some level, our day, I've been up for 2 hours less probably, is human-machine teaming, right? And so how we do that teaming, how effective we are, how we optimize, and what that looks like, it affects our results. It affects our outcomes, personally and professionally. And so I wanted to talk about just this one mission, but the goal, and we'll leave lots of times for discussion and question, is how can we apply this to our lives and our work lives? Okay, so I inherited an organization that was pretty comfortable. And I don't know if this resonates, but the folks there, we had some change agents and then a lot of people who weren't looking to change. And so this is a little bit of a shake it up list of behaviors. And I actually didn't think this would get approved when we put this out 4 years ago, but it's running and no one has stopped us, and then other organizations have adopted this. And so this was my own experiment, and adoption happened. But the idea here is both applying applying science, and then also applying a little bit of maverick stylings to how we change the way that we approach problems and how we change the way that we approach service delivery. And so what that ended up doing for us was I have about 1,500 people in my direct organization, and then a lot more who are supposed to listen. And they came under an umbrella, and so we have an Unleashed call now weekly, and then other communities of interest that are completely voluntary that are kind of on fire, and so flammable and then fully on fire groups who are getting together. And one of the things that they really like is kind of this forward push. One of the things that the president mentioned is seek simplicity for scalability. What we're doing has increasing scale implications. I think this goes for all of us. And one of the advantages that we have over AI right now is that we can break things down. My first mentor after the military said, Justin, it's hard to make things simple. But to the president's point, where we can do that and then where we can team on complex problems, we want to do that. And so thinking through what that means and how we boil it down and share it out, that was one of the tools we used, one of the frameworks, one of the values we used for the following plays. All right, so we're going to get into the weeds for a second, then we'll come back out. Who has bought something that was like a technology in the last 6 months? All right. Was it an old technology or a new technology? Or new, right? And so what type of feelings do we have when we buy a new technology? There's normally two big ones, right? Like giddy and nervous, right? Like, so probably a lot of people here, regardless of your profession, are gadget people at some level. It's kind of a gadget era. Not everyone needs to be. But there's the, oh, this is cool. It's going to change the way I work, may or may not, but it feels like it every time. And then what if this doesn't work? The old tool and this is the way that disruptive innovation works, the old tool is probably more reliable at some level, or we understand it better, right? And so there's that sense of like dipping a toe, a foot, until all of that happens. Traditionally, the government, and I'll speak for the Department of Navy, fairly slow, right? Fairly risk averse in this space. Also, it feels like when we think about that valley of death, it's a very manual process. We are pushing every step of the way. And so we said, hey, we want to be pullers. We want to pull more, but it can't be hard every step. Then you never get down the field. Anyone not know the sales funnel? We spot a lead, we convert them, we have a customer, we have a repeat customer. This is, we're simple, it's downhill running, it's funnel, right? If we're cooking, a funnel is one of my favorite instruments because like it just kind of takes care of itself. I don't need good aim, but like it gets in there. So we wanted to do a sales funnel for technology adoption. And so we worked with a couple folks, this was already out there, but Steve Blank, who did Lean Startup, and McKinsey, they say there's a funnel out here. 3 is scouting. We already do market research. Horizon 3 is scouting. Horizon 2 is piloting. We already do those, but we don't talk to each other all the time. Who is doing piloting? Horizon 1 is what's in production, and this is everything. This doesn't mean the good stuff. This just means anything that's out there at scale. And then we added Horizon 0. And so Horizon 0 is the idea of decommissioning or turning off or sunsetting a system or tool. Who has ever turned off a tool or a system or a program of record in government? Raise them high. This is a really hard thing to do. Anyone want to offer how long that took or how much work that was? Years, right? Years to turn something off. It's easier to turn something on than turn something off, right? Right? And so when the easier to turn something on than turn something off applies to like a disease or a virus, like that's a pandemic, right? And so we have a pandemic of new technology without being able to turn things off, right? And so we said, okay, how do we make it easier to get new things in, because that wasn't right either, but then how do we also make it easier to turn them off? And so the horizons are 3 is scouting. The main reason we did this actually is for psychological safety. We said, you're going too fast. Don't worry, that's just Horizon 3. We're just doing market research. You guys are piloting this on a ship right now. We're piloting something that was just for enterprise capability on a ship. But it's just one ship, it's just 3 ships. It's just in the psychological safety of Horizon 2. We have an incredible fear of success, which is to say, like, what if everyone loves it? Well, what if we don't provide it? Okay, we'll deal with what if everyone loves it. That is a better problem, but let's contain that a little bit. And so when we took hyper-converged infrastructure stacks and we put them on a carrier and then 3 carriers, and then the carrier called the International Space System, they said, uh-oh, does this mean this has to go to every ship? Well, is it better and cheaper than what's there right now? Yes, but we have a program of record about what's there right now. I want that problem. That is not the biggest, these warfighters, these sailors are putting this out there themselves so that they can get the better technology. Let's not be the bottleneck there. And so how do we make that larger decision? But we don't have to make it too early. We can learn by doing and then make that decision from 3 to 2 to 1. And here's the kicker. Horizon 3, there are a lot of businesses. How many different companies, how many people get blown up on email and LinkedIn by people pitching wares? Interesting things. Who doesn't? I'll give your email address out, right? So they're coming in, they're hungry, they're staffed for this. What we've done is we've put a lean business case, just a 1-pager, between 3 and 2 to say, how do you impact our mission? Well, we don't understand your mission. Well, then probably don't need to be doing business together. At some level, how do we quantify what difference you'll make, and the kicker part, and what can we turn off? They might need a little bit of our help with that, but we can activate them. There's more of them than us, and so how do we get them thinking about what we can turn off? Because we need help with that. And so if you need help with something, and so here's my question to you. Who has systems that they want to see turned off? Who has impediments or tools or tech that are in the way or are not as good as you'd like them to be? Let's do the reverse now, because I want to talk to who doesn't have that. All right, it's everybody. Cool. So coffee break coming soon. So the idea of how do we deal with the pace of technology, we've said it's overwhelming, right? There is an aspect of judo here where we can, at some level, get a little bit less in the way and let more of these natural forces. If there are 14 pinch points, we're taking a lot of paper cuts and it's still not getting out the door. So how do we be a little bit smarter, more tactful about letting this in the door and then having toll gates along the way for what is making a difference, what isn't, and when we can turn things off. One thing we know for sure, I met with 350 companies last year, and all of them say, like, my technology will change the game. And I said, even if you have the best technology in the world, the chances that I can pay for this within the palm are really low unless you turn something off. I can get bridge funds, I can do something else, but unless you're turning something off, the way that the government works is that there's going to be a pinch. That's one of the valleys of death. And so if you help me turn things off, this is better for everybody. And so I want to reintroduce that concept of simplicity. There's simplicity in our messaging. There's also elegance and simplicity in our systems. Anyone deal with cyber at all, at some level? All right. So Gartner's numbers are the average enterprise has 79 cyber tools. An 80th tool doesn't make you more secure. Adding does not make you more secure. There are things, that doesn't mean you take off whichever Jenga block you want to. The stack could fall, but figuring out where less is more is the first step. And so I just wanted to share with you that, hey, this is a convention that we're using with Defense Innovation Unit. We're using a little bit with VA and DHS. This is a standard that if you're feeling stress about how do we keep up with that flow, lean on it, be aware of it. Next one. How do we drive down that? And so I talked a little bit about, hey, here are the vendor outreach pieces, and then here are the government partnerships. And so we're just trying to, now that we have a system, stir up as much so that we can do that judo, so that we can get out of the way. As much of the inputs as possible so that we can put more shots on goal. The shots are already happening. They're just not all facing the goalie, right? And so if we say, hey, are we evaluating all of the right things? Well, we only work on that at sea, or that's for the Marines. That's not for the Navy. Last year, we had a solution that we fielded on ships. And then the Army said, we have this problem. We said, we have that problem. We solved it. And they said, oh, neat. We're going to do an RFP now. And we're like, well, how long is it going to take to deliver that? 3 years if it's good. And so we painted it brown and gave it to them. And they used it. And we saved at least 3 years and some money. So the idea of leveraging other people's stuff works. And so how do we just make these pinpoint decisions? How do we have fewer decisions? The decisions still happen. They still carry weight, but it's fewer of them so that we can flow. All right, and so we've turned it into a racetrack. Ooh. All right, and so the idea here is that we're not necessarily running faster, but we have more drivers, and because we've gotten out of the way, we've said, how do we make sure that we're always delivering something, but you're never done? And so the delivery part can't be the stressful part. It's how do we maintain this overall process? And that includes the feedback loop of both getting better, turning things off. And so what we've done is we've said, hey, average system takes about 18 years to both deliver and then sunset. That does not match what's happening in industry right now. And so there are some cases where this is a little bit scary, but we're doing it in 18 months because it's cycling out. there are some cases with like IT equipment or things that are like AI tools where we're doing it even faster than that. And so I can't run 10 times faster than I was 5 years ago, and so we changed the process here. I'll show you how we changed the process. Two things. One is most things in life are modular. Who played with Legos as a kid or had children who played with Legos?
I still play with them.
Yeah. Because they're one of the best inventions ever, and they're a metaphor for the only thing that scales. Complexity doesn't scale well. Modular components that we can build on top of each other scale well. This is true for IT, and software's been eating the world for at least 14 years, and it's more true with AI, right? ChatGPT and Claude and all, these are APIs, these are application programming interfaces that plug in. And so what model, who uses AI on a weekly basis? Daily? Okay. Do you recognize when the model you're using changes? Sometimes, right? But it can happen seamlessly behind us, right? Like that, they're switching out. We went from 3.0 to 3.5 or 4.0, or like it's just happening. Or you can even go in the application and switch it, right? It's because it's modular. And so the idea of what we used to call in engineering an N-tier architecture, where we have a composable architecture, we want that. And so that's, it doesn't happen overnight, but that's table stakes for anyone who's interacting with us. Oh, we're bringing Behemoth. Well, we're using standards. Hey, we have new radios. We have new walkie-talkie. Right now, we use networking tools that are wired, but we'd like to move to 5G. We'd like to move to proliferated low Earth orbit, space. How do we do that? Okay, what is the interface, and is that swappable? And so we've now said for bases, instead of, we love coax cable, right? We love copper, but where we can switch to passive optical network with fiber or 5G, or like we are writing these recs so that we can get those different pieces in, and then we write the recs for the devices and the applications on top so that that is switchable. And so there's a whole document behind this, but point is, modern service delivery makes it less integration every time. Okay, and then here is the kind of the punchline for me. Who has the problem that when someone delivers either a service or a technology, you are measuring what you've always measured? You are measuring time to answer, or like who has this problem? Does anyone have a story? Or I'm seeing a lot of nodding, but this is a well-recognized problem. Has anyone solved that? We recognize that we measure what our bosses and what statute and what everyone else, like that's what we measure. We have KPIs and KPPs, and we learned them in training, and this is the thing that we optimize for. And we said when technology changes, what you optimize for changes faster than how we measure. And so that's a problem. So the speed of technology has an issue. There's a friction point where technology is changing faster than the way we measure it is. This is like a significant bottleneck. And so we said that's a real problem. It's stopping us from making trade-offs. So much that I will make fun of one of our teams. AT&T called me last year and said, did you know you're speccing things in your request for proposal that we don't make anymore? I was like, no. And they're like, can you just change the RFP so that any modern company can bid on this? Because right now, you're speccing something that we can't even get. And we're AT&T, right? Like they're big blue. My grandfather worked for AT&T after World War II. we're speccing what we're comfortable with because we know that all the integration downstream and we know how to measure those. And that part's broken. And so we said, what if we measured outcomes? Then we can make a choice, but I'll stay on networking unless you guys want to throw out another. Then we can say, hey, is satellite faster than 5G for some applications and then not others? But they do compete. There are cases where you'd want to choose one or the other. It's only $1, right? Where does that go? How many cents go to one versus the other? And so for us, I met with the C-suites from the Fortune 20, and then, bless you, and then execs all over different places, 24 agencies, as well as some 4-stars, retired 4-stars, and said, what if we just measure the outcomes that our warfighter cares about, and then we go down from there? And so for anything that was an enabling technology, we said, we don't want our users to lose time anymore. Anyone want to guess the measure that we couch, the units that we measure user time lost in? It's what? Yes, but a lot of them. So now, total, cumulatively, per year, we measure hundreds of millions of man-hours lost based on latency or delays or other things. And so user time lost, it was very obvious. These are needles. We want that needle to go way down, like way, way down. And it's not going incremental. Improving that by 3% is wholly insufficient. Operational resiliency. Our network contracts, for instance, say our uptime should be 95%. And we said, okay, how are we doing on that? Well, it's 83%. Can we stop paying that bill? No, we still have to pay the bill. But what would move that needle significantly? And so now we're putting it on our vendors to say, if you have we have a technology that completely changes the game. Do you change our resilience? No. Okay. Do you make it easier for us to adapt? No. I don't think we want your tool. Like I no longer see how your tool is of value to, no, but it's really cool. It's between TCP/IP layer 2 and 3. I'm an electrical engineer, translate it to outcomes, right? And so what are you doing for our end users? And so where we have outcome-driven metrics and where we use those and where we put that work on our vendor partners instead of doing it ourselves, we are making way faster trades. And so just so that I have customer satisfaction, people push back on that. I had some Navy folks that say, I like all of them except for customer satisfaction. Why? Well, it's just not that important to us. Let's go on a ship. Let's talk about that and let's see if that matters. Cost per user, this one gets people sometimes. We're not trying to drive it to bargain basement. This is to say, like, are we in a healthy range? If we're paying more for our services than Google or Microsoft or Aetna, like we want to know that, right? So like, are we in a healthy range? And if we add something, is there a place to turn that off? So like we've stayed in the range. And so for every lean business case, for every vendor that we talk to, we won't talk to them until they fill out, here is the impact. We'll change the world. You move one of these by 1%. It's not we're not interested, it's just we are rank ordering them. So when we opened this up, I expected to get 50 applicants. We got about 1,000, and then now we can rank order them based on impact. And they said, oh, you know, actually, I think we can change it more if we're 150th. Okay, prove it, and then we'll come back up. But it's just a lot less work on us. And so within, you guys know what PEOs are, Program Executive Offices? These are acquisition. So within Department of Navy, we have 18 of them. Most of them are or want to be using this because otherwise vendor meeting time will kill you, but it's a good problem. We just need the data in a way that's usable. All right, so what's under that? It's a Christmas tree. And so we measure all the things we used to measure, but now we want to know, is the needle moving or not? And so that sounds sciencey. Again, coffee is coming, but here's the deal. Organizations that can move really quick, they have data. Your organization may not have perfect data, but it has some, and that's a good enough place to start. And then we get to figure out on top of that, what is the relationship between what you have, what other people are bringing, and whether it moves the needle. Here's the miracle that I experienced. We have, on a regular basis, probably about 10 different stakeholders, and they all like to see things in different formats. And so we'd translate, and so a lot of my GS15s were spending a lot of time doing slides, like slightly tailoring messages, like non-substantively, so that we could tell different stakeholders what they wanted to know. And I said, we're going to do 2 months of only reporting outcome-driven metrics to all of the stakeholders, and they aren't going to like it, but they're going to deal with it for a while. That wasn't like, no one gave us permission to do that. We were just kind of taking a chance. And they bought on, they came on. And so if you guys go down this path and then your stakeholders don't like it, have them call me. Point is, in general, where we can show that we're moving the needle, we are getting more money and we are getting more results. And that is a virtuous cycle. And so we are looking for escape velocity and compounding effects in this nonlinear time. Other ones, the idea of a taxonomy, the idea of singling up on language is useful. The idea of designating enterprise services, or what's even better is using other people's stuff and adopting that, applying that, getting out of the way again. And so we've said there are kind of wonky tools like software development tools. Has anyone ever heard the word DevSecOps? All right, good. All right, so we're so good at DevSecOps that we have 55 factories. That's not the right amount. That's too many. You should have one or a couple. And so we've said we're going to designate 3, and then if you're not designated, then the cattle drive might be in your future, right? And so if you don't have the right outcomes, then we are looking for ways to divest on things that are no longer serving us, or going back to the pilot phase. That is simplification. What do they call it? Like feng shui. Like we are decluttering the landscape here, so that we can take some of the pressure off and focus on what's important. All of this that we've talked about is an exercise in prioritization. What are the 2 things the government has the most trouble with? Saying no and prioritization, and they're the same thing. So how do we prioritize based on data? All right. This is to say that we've made changes automated, and so just to lay out a quick, not about this, but in general, a quick one is addition by subtraction is first. If we can get rid of something, like not even just a system, like, hey, this is not a value-added step. One of my guys who worked for Elon Musk said, this is maybe more important than it used to be. He said, the root of all evil is over-optimizing a problem that you shouldn't have at all, right? And so we want to subtract, we want to get rid of things that we shouldn't be doing. So get rid of them. And then we say, okay, after we're rid of the things that we shouldn't be doing, and like there are a lot of things that like we just don't want to do or shouldn't do. That's a good thing. And then, is there something that we can adopt, right? And if we can't adopt it, then can we optimize what's there? And so what we've said is, for each of these, let's optimize and automate the change management process. Let's optimize and automate contracting. We've gone up a level. We've said, hey, where possible, not everywhere, can we do statement of objectives so that we can allow more shots on goal and then select based on outcomes. Driver trees, if we have issues, if we have ship crashes, if we have supply chain shortfalls, what are the driver trees, and then where can we focus our attention and energy? Otherwise, it's overwhelming. There's too much. Tier 4 suppliers, hundreds of thousands of them, right? And so how do we simplify? Structured challenges. This is one of my favorites. We now just say, hey, we have a problem. And normally that would be, hey, send our 3 smartest people into a room. Now we say, give us the wisdom of crowds. And so since we put this out, we've had 65 challenges in the last 9 months. I didn't ask for 65 challenges. I just said, here's what a structured challenge is. Here's our social chair. They will help you with it. If you were going to do one already, let's mark it. And so we funnel those in, we get results. The dirty little secret of those is they produce good results. They also help you figure out who are the people who really want to get after things, or some more unleashed people. So if they're participating, if they're running challenges, we've just identified our lower level people who want to make something happen. That's it. I mean, there's a lot more plays, but I just wanted to tell you that, but with a few tweaks, what we've done is Indo-PACOM, so the area of responsibility right now that is likely getting the most attention in the world, and certainly within the Department of Navy, said that 3 years ago, your organization was the worst one we worked with, and now it's the best. 3 years is a long time, but the ability to shift the way that we deliver and keep up to speed, we probably made 15 years of progress in 3 years. And others have adopted this. And so you don't need to adopt these things, but knowing that something is out there, or that there's places to read up on, or there are ways where we can de-stress and work smarter and take a plane or a rocket ship or something else is probably necessary based on where technology is moving and the pace at which it is.